Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the Islamic Shahada channel. The UK is one of the most secular countries in the world today, meaning that a large portion of the population does not actively practice any religion. This wasn't always the case. For centuries, Christianity, particularly through the Church of England, was deeply embedded in British society. However, over the last few decades, atheism, agnosticism, and secularism have grown rapidly, especially among those born after World War II, like Alison. In the 1950s and 1960s, religion was still an integral part of British daily life. Families attended church services, religious education was common in schools, and Christian values were considered the moral foundation of society. However, beginning in the 1970s, a profound cultural shift took place, leading to a decline in religious adherence. Several key factors contributed to this shift. Modern scientific discoveries, such as the theory of evolution, modern physics, and advancements in medicine, provided explanations for many questions that were once answered by religion. Schools in the UK placed greater emphasis on critical thinking and scientific reasoning, pushing religious teachings into the background. As a result, many young people grew up believing that religion was outdated and that science alone was sufficient to understand the world. Scandals involving corruption and abuse within churches led to a significant decline in public trust. Many people viewed religious institutions as rigid, outdated, and even harmful. The Church of England, once central to British culture, saw a massive drop in attendance, with churches closing across the country due to low participation. The rise of consumerism and entertainment shifted people's focus toward material success, personal achievements, and social causes rather than religious devotion. Movements for women's rights, LGBTQ+ rights, and personal freedom often clashed with traditional religious teachings, leading many to reject organized religion entirely. Secular values became deeply embedded in UK law, such as the legalization of same-sex marriage, leading to a further separation of religion from public life. As a result of these changes, Alison grew up in an environment where religion was no longer seen as essential. Unlike previous generations who may have viewed atheism as controversial or rebellious, by the late 20th century, being an atheist or agnostic was simply normal. Even though Christianity remains the UK's official religion, most British people today do not attend church or actively practice any faith. In a society that values personal freedom and privacy, religion is often seen as a private matter, something that individuals may or may not engage with, but rarely a subject of open discussion. Many British people do not have strong opinions about religion. They simply do not think about it. There is a widespread perception that religion is associated with power, control, and corruption rather than spirituality and inner peace. The UK promotes religious freedom, allowing people to follow their beliefs without societal pressure, but this has also led to a more individualistic and fragmented approach to spirituality. At the same time, Islam has become the second largest religion in the UK. Despite this, it is often misunderstood, with public perception being shaped by media portrayals, political narratives, and a lack of direct interaction with practicing Muslims. Many people associate Islam with extremism due to the way it is portrayed in the news. Islamic practices, such as the hijab and gender roles, are sometimes seen as oppressive rather than empowering. Some view Islam as a rigid and strict religion that does not align with Western values of personal freedom and individualism. Despite these misconceptions, Islam has been attracting a growing number of converts, especially among women, due to its emphasis on structure, purpose, and community. Many Westerners find that Islam provides clear guidance on life's biggest questions, something they feel is lacking in secular society. Despite living in one of the most developed and economically advanced societies in the world, many people in the West experience a deep sense of spiritual emptiness. The decline of religion has not necessarily led to greater happiness or fulfillment. In fact, many are beginning to question whether purely secular values can provide the answers they seek. Society promotes the idea that happiness comes from wealth, career success, and personal freedom. However, studies show that depression, anxiety, and loneliness are rising, even among those who are financially successful. Many achieve their professional and financial goals, only to find that something still feels missing. Family structures have changed significantly, leading to increased isolation and weaker community bonds. In the past, religious institutions provided a strong sense of belonging and moral guidance, but as church attendance declined, many were left without a spiritual support system. Rapid technological advancements, economic uncertainty, and global conflicts have left many feeling anxious about their place in the world. Without a strong belief system, people often struggle to find stability and purpose in the face of change. Because of this spiritual emptiness, many people in the West have begun searching for deeper meaning. Some turn to Eastern philosophies like Buddhism or Hinduism. Others explore New Age practices like meditation, astrology, or energy healing. Many, like Alison, unexpectedly find themselves drawn to Islam, a faith they had never previously considered. Alison Stevens never imagined that, in her 50s, she would find herself drawn toward a faith she had once dismissed entirely. Having spent most of her life as an atheist, she relied solely on science and reason. Religion, to her, was an outdated concept, a source of conflict rather than peace. Yet, through a series of unexpected events, she found herself on a path that would forever change her life. Born and raised in the UK, Alison's early years were marked by constant relocation. Her father worked in the oil industry, which meant her family was always on the move. They never had a permanent home, and religion was never a topic of discussion. Unlike some of her peers, who attended church with their families, Alison's only exposure to faith was during school celebrations, an experience that felt more cultural than spiritual. When she entered her teenage years and began schooling in Scotland, she encountered religious studies as part of the curriculum. But like many of her classmates, she viewed it as a subject with little practical relevance. The dominant culture around her was secular, and religion seemed more like a relic of the past than something meaningful for daily life. As Alison entered adulthood, she became passionate about humanitarian work. She believed in the power of kindness, compassion, and social justice, but she saw no need for religion to justify these values. In fact, she often associated religion with division and conflict rather than unity and peace. Her career led her to work in a hospital, where she encountered many devout evangelical Christians among her colleagues. Their open discussions about faith made her uncomfortable. She often questioned why religious beliefs should matter in a professional setting. Weren't kindness and morality enough without faith? Her frustration grew to the point where she included a request in her will to be buried in a non-religious cemetery. She was convinced that faith had no place in her life, but destiny had other plans. Despite her resistance, Alison couldn't ignore the topic of religion entirely. One day, out of sheer curiosity, she purchased several religious texts, including the Quran, the Torah, and a book of teachings from the Dalai Lama. She brought them to work and placed them on her desk, surprising her colleagues. The Christian co-workers who had been encouraging her to explore faith were thrilled, thinking she was finally opening her heart to religion. But Alison remained skeptical. She skimmed through most of the books without feeling any connection, until she opened the Quran. Okay, let's see what this is all about, she thought as she turned the pages. One chapter in particular caught her attention, Surah An-Nisa, the women. She was struck by the fact that a religious text from centuries ago had dedicated an entire chapter to discussing women's rights and responsibilities. It was unlike anything she had encountered before. As she continued reading, she felt an unexpected emotional pull. It was deeply moving, she later admitted. Yet, she still resisted. She closed the book, trying to suppress the emotions stirring within her. But soon, curiosity got the better of her, and she reopened the Quran. Days turned into weeks, and Alison found herself reading more and more. The Quran was not just a book, it was a profound source of wisdom, answering questions she hadn't even known she had. I used to think rejecting faith was a sign of intelligence, she reflected. But how could something so full of wisdom and guidance be ignored? Determined to understand the text better, Alison decided to visit a mosque. She chose one far from her home to avoid being recognized. Wearing a scarf and modest clothing, she entered the mosque and met with an imam. Their conversation was eye-opening. The imam explained that the Quran's message was not only poetic, but also accurate and timeless. Then he asked her a question that caught her off guard. "Are you reading this just for knowledge, or are you considering embracing Islam?" Alison quickly denied any intention of converting. She insisted she was simply exploring different perspectives. But deep down, something was changing. That day felt different, she later said. And as fate would have it, the day she visited the mosque coincided with the birth anniversary of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. When she realized this later at home, she couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a coincidence. A few days later, Alison confided in a Muslim colleague, a doctor she worked with. She approached him with a serious expression, leading him to believe she had bad news about a patient. Instead, she began discussing Islam. He was taken aback, but patiently guided her through her questions. Over time, Alison's heart became more certain. The peace she felt in Islam was unlike anything she had experienced before. Though some around her suggested she should consider Christianity instead, she knew where her heart truly belonged. After weeks of reflection and learning, Alison made her decision. At 47 years old, she declared the Shahada, the testimony of faith, embracing Islam with an open heart and soul. It wasn't forced or rushed. It was a choice that felt right, a truth she could no longer deny. Alison's conversion was not just a spiritual shift. It transformed her entire worldview. She found peace in daily prayers, a sense of purpose in fasting during Ramadan, and a new community that welcomed her with open arms. For the first time in her life, she felt truly grounded. She realized that her previous assumptions about Islam had been shaped by misconceptions and media portrayals rather than first-hand knowledge. The more she learned, the more she understood that Islam was not a religion of oppression, but one of profound wisdom, balance, and justice. Today, Alison looks back at her journey with gratitude. She now speaks openly about her experience, hoping to inspire others who may be searching for deeper meaning in their lives. Her story serves as a testament to the idea that no matter where you start in life, the search for truth has a way of leading you home. Through her journey, Alison discovered something she never expected. Faith was not the enemy of reason, but rather its greatest companion. Alison's story is part of a larger trend. Many people in the UK, despite being raised in secular environments, are beginning to realize that science and logic alone do not answer life's deepest questions. For those seeking clarity, peace, and purpose, Islam offers a structure that fills the gaps left by secularism. Her journey serves as a powerful reminder. No matter where someone starts in life, the search for truth can lead to unexpected and transformative discoveries. Thanks for watching until the end. I hope it was useful. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.